Explain like I'm 5 why a small home appliance is always so loud. Slicer, hand mixer, vacuum cleaner, blender, juicer all insanely loud. Why can't they make them quieter? They use cheap AC brushed motors which are loud as shit because of the brushes and high RPM. A box fan is cheap, but not loud. WTF? It uses a triad fan and way lower RPM. Take them apart and you will see. Brushed motors are small and cheap, but loud. Induction motors are large and expensive, and oh so quiet. Both are typically easy to disassemble and put back together. Often, it's because of marketing in design. Companies know that the customer typically thinks louder, more power. So they literally design things like vacuum cleaners to be loud. There's an entire science behind the type of sound a product emits. They can make it quieter, but it would cost more, so it wouldn't sell as well. It's easier to sell more of a cheap appliance than an expensive one. Some brands are advertising themselves as premium appliances. For example, Dyson products are more expensive than other brands, but items like their handheld vacuums are both more powerful and quieter than other vacuums. Most of those appliances use what are called universal motors. They use carbon brushes and a commutator, which make a lot of noise. However, these types of motors are cheap to make and small in size for a given power output. Also, a lot of those appliances work best with a high RPM motor. Another thing universal motors are good at. Oh baby. I got a Dyson Cyclone V10 Animal for my birthday yesterday, and that thing is a new level of power. And lack of sound, it literally sounds like a space laser gun. So cool. Side note, you know you're a grown-up when not only do you get a vacuum for your birthday, but you're ecstatic about it. And thankful that they gifted you charged so you can give it a much-needed go ASAP. Did a doggo write this post? Dyson Supersonic hairdryer is very quiet. And costs a leg and an arm. Although, worth it. Electrician here, and I think the big difference is how the motor is wound. Everything loud is small centrifugal force devices. Weed walkers, blenders, etc. It requires high RPM to break stuff apart. Toasters and other boring stuff uses purely resistive load. It's the spinning that makes it loud. Small appliance with high power and high RPM. Same reason if you have a 2-stroke engine compared to same RPM 4-stroke or 8-stroke engine. Less components means more of the engine or motor is moving in one stroke than the same but larger engine. Also, smaller components moving at the same speed tend to have a higher pitch. I'm assuming costs. Honestly, a lot of European appliances are quieter than their US counterparts, while also way more flimsy and less powerful than the EU ones. It's frustrating. It matters how much you pay for them. For example, standard vacuum costs $100,500. They can be heard throughout your home. I have a $1,400 Roomba that activates when I go to sleep. I have never heard it once. 'Cause they powerful LLLL. Also, you want them big and loud. It will start taking loads of space. My KitchenAid 3-speed electric hand mixer, bought about 15 years ago, is unusually quiet, really amazingly quiet compared to most other electric hand mixers I've used. Which proves your point that a lot of small appliances are loud. And demonstrates that they don't necessarily have to be. I would love to have a quiet hand vacuum and a quiet blender as for regular vacuums. My meal is extremely quiet and extremely sucky in the good way. So at least for two kinds of appliance it can be done. Wait. Are you really 5? Vacuum cleaners are intentionally made louder than they should be because people associate that loudness with sucking power. Pretty insane. Some decent quality appliances are quiet enough compared to many others. Take meal vacuums, for example. They are also costly. In Europe they're fairly quiet as they have regulations. Look at a Henry vacuum, then turn on a Dirt Devil. It's night and day. There are jet vacuums. They run on compressed air. It's basically an air discharge hose blasting through a venturi tube. The entire unit sits atop a 55-gallon drum. It has no moving parts, however, is still loud. Many times with vacuums the noise is from the motors. But even with perfect motors that could create no wasted friction, they wouldn't really be that quiet since the actual air itself also is a source of noise. Even some of the most expensive brushless drone motors make a crap ton of noise once you put a prop on them. Seriously. Majority of motors are just too loud. Government still allows it because there is no alternative. I'm the kind of person who needs to wear earmuff when using a bread dough mixer, blender and vacuum cleaner. Not all of them are. Some manufacturers have lines of products designed to be as quiet as possible. Electrolux Ultra Silencer like of products, for example.